Have you ever thought about a career in television or film? Like behind the scenes, though, not as the actor or actress. I spent many years doing post production sound, and before I got into that field and learned about that field, I would have never known what went into all these television commercials that we watch and all these TV shows that we watch, and really, I would not have had an understanding of how they got to what we're watching on TV, sound wise, post production wise, video wise. So I'll share a few things. In post production sound, I'm not there at the film shoot. I would handle the sound after it was filmed and after a video editor cut together the perfect takes. I would get that cut down version. So if it was a half-hour show, it would be about 22 or 23 minutes worth of the show, and we would fill in the rest of the time by realizing what commercials would be inserted, and that's how we got to a half-hour show. I was the guy in charge of adding footsteps, explosions, maybe recording a voiceover actor. Sometimes the actors that filmed at the shoot have to come back in and redo lines a little better. Sometimes they mispronounce a name, or sometimes they were saying something on set and a loud airplane flew over, and they just may not want that sound in there, so they re-record the line in the studio with me without the airplane, and I mix that sound back in to the production so it all sounds like they did it when it was filmed. This happens a lot also when they might be filming and they might be sirens going off because ambulance is coming by or something like that. So ADR is what they call it, automatic dialogue replacement. So actors come back into a controlled environment studio and re-record lines, and somebody like me, the post-production audio engineer, mixes that sound back into the production, and it sounds to you like they did it all in one take right there at the shoot. Some other things that I did was like for radio, there are a lot of songs that I worked on and I had to remove the curse words from it. That is also considered post-production. The song is already done, it's recorded, it's mixed by a music engineer, and it's out there, but now we need a radio version of the song. So I used to work with Def Jam Records a lot. That was one of my biggest clients back in the day, and I removed the curses for a lot of songs for Wu-Tang Clan, songs for Jay-Z, a lot of different groups, a lot of songs that you heard on the radio. I removed the curses. I replaced it with the instrumental right where that curse would be, and in some cases I would add sound effects, just sounds to replace where that word would be. So that was pretty cool. Another thing you see on TV at the time of this recording, there's all these Allstate commercials that they have out on television, and there's a person speaking in their voice, and then you hear them talking and their voice changes to the Allstate guy's voice, a big, heavy, bassy voice. Well, the way we're able to achieve that is there's software that can take the waveform of the original person speaking and take the waveform of the Allstate guy speaking with a very deep voice, and once they say the same sentence, the software will take the waveforms and adjust where the high points are and where the low points are and line them up. And now we can mute the original person's voice and just play his voice, and it looks like the person on television is speaking in that guy's voice. So that's another interesting thing that we do in television, specifically in post-production sound. Talking about video, there's great jobs as video editors. So even those commercials, the commercials come on and we always turn the channel. We don't really pay too much attention to them. Who's interested in commercials? But video editors for commercials, it's a very lucrative field, and you have to be a great storyteller. Just like if you're putting together scenes for a television show or a documentary or a film. If the commercial is supposed to be funny, you as the video editor have to find when to edit, either to go to a shot of a person that might evoke comedy or laughter, or turn away from a shot that might bring sadness to the scene. So video editors are a lot of times considered great storytellers. It's a gift. There's also another thing that we may not notice, and one of them is there's a color correction process. So things get filmed on a set, and then a video editor tells this story by picking the right clips with their client, the producer, and then before it actually gets to somebody like myself who might be doing post-production sound, it goes to color correction. So what is color correction? Color correction allows people, the producers of the show who are working on it, to take a scene that might have been shot later on in the day and make that scene look the same as when it was shot earlier that morning. And we're talking about the reflection of light on leaves, the reflection of light, whether it's coming in from the east or the west. Color correction handles all of those areas. And one really obvious way that you can think about color correction is if you go back, and forgive me for thinking about older movies, but if you watch a movie like The Matrix, the first Matrix, there's a lot of color correction in there. Think about it. A lot of the scenes are tinted in green because of those numbers that they keep flashing. They want it to look digital and all this stuff. Many of the scenes are tinted with a green tint. That was done in color correction. It wasn't shot in the camera that way. Maybe even a better example is if you go back and look at the movie Titanic with Leonardo DiCaprio. Anything that was in blue was accentuated blue. So anybody's eyes that were blue, I mean, they were popping that blue because they're on the ocean, they're on the water. The whole movie is based on the water. The blues need to come out. We are keeping the audience in that mode, in that place. So the color correction has a blue, beautiful blue throughout the film. Another area of television and post-production that could be a lot of fun and very lucrative is working in cartoons. I had a chance to work on shows like Pokemon and The Matrix and Yu-Gi-Oh! And one thing to realize, sometimes we wonder, wow, that show, really was like cutting edge, and they're talking about things that, and I don't even know if children understand it. Well, one thing I learned in the field is the writers are all adults, and the people who are doing the voices are all adults. It's very hard to work with child actors doing voiceovers and that type of post-production work, because the attention span is less, and working with an adult, they can emulate a child's voice, but they have the chops to stay in front of the mic and not go off mic and not ask mom for candy or M&Ms, so we work with adults doing all those voices, which you kind of probably already knew, because there's celebrity actors and actresses on a lot of Disney films and Pixar films. But a lot of times people forget. They hear kid voices and they think kids are doing these shows. So behind the scenes, there's a lot of cursing going on. There's a lot of outtakes with curses in it. And but there's a lot of fun working on these shows, and again, they're very lucrative. I guess lastly, I would say, one thing I learned when I first started working with Miramax Films back in the day, Life is Beautiful, that ended up, I think, getting an Oscar. But I worked on the commercial for that on a particular day. And then my boss said, hey, you're working with these clients on Life is Beautiful again. And I'm thinking, we already did Life is Beautiful. But the show the movie the film kept getting nominated for more awards. So I didn't realize at the time, every time it got nominated, they wanted to show new commercials saying three nominated, third time nominated, Life is Beautiful in theaters now, right? And then if it got nominated for something else, they would say, four nominations up for this. So I kept working on this film over and over again. And at the time, my initial instinct was, why does this film keep coming back? But that's because it kept getting nominated and kept making it to the list of one of the best movies of that year. And finally, when I was working on the Matrix commercials, one of the commercials was called Matrix Trinity. That's one of the commercials I worked on. And it's cool. They named the commercials this way, and obviously we don't see the names of commercials when we watch them, but they named it Matrix Trinity because they focused on that character Trinity. The commercial I did in that excuse me, in that particular instance was about the Matrix, but all about that female character Trinity. So everything kept going back to her and how great she's going to be when this movie comes out. And then I did 3 more commercials that talked about Morpheus and then Neo. And they all had names relating to what they were going to show. Try to really highlight. So that's a little insight to television and film.